Hey friends, welcome back. Listen to what you'll be getting in this video, okay? It's episode 4 in the 5-star showdown. We are reading 3 incredible fantasy books. The Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan, The Ruin of Kings by Jenn Lyons, as well as The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. At this point in time, yes, I have finished all 3, but I had to film a different intro because who I was in the intro that I filmed first for this video is a totally different person than who I am today. Outside of reading all 3 of these fantasy books, in this video, you are getting content from my Bali trip that I hosted, the story about how I almost died in Japan, 2 new tattoos, and a home project. So buckle up, besties, because it's gonna be a good one. Let's throw it back to Sid a couple months ago to set the stage. So hi, welcome. So happy to have you here. The first book that we're reading for this video is going to be YouTube's pick for my 5-star predictions. We specifically have Libro Curious commenting and saying, because of your love of malice, I really think you will like Age of Myth and The Legends of the First Empire. I'm currently making my way through and loving them by Michael J. Sullivan. So here we are. We're reading Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. Ooh, and reading the synopsis just gave me chills because I'm 50 pages in and I have really good feelings about this book. We're in this world where we have normal humans and then these beings called the Frey, and they're almost godlike, seemingly immortal, but one of them falls to our main character's blade. His name is Wraith. He is now deemed the God Killer, and he is having to step up to the title that is God Killer. And then our other main characters are Suri, who is a really young girl who is a seer, and she's bringing this prophecy that like everyone's gonna be dying. And it's obviously not going to be received well. And then our third main character is Persephone, who has to overcome a terrible tragedy in order to lead her people. And the catchline at the end is, the Age of Myth is over, the time of rebellion has begun. And now there's going to be some sort of balance of power between the Frey, the gods, and normal humans. And oh, I'm already like kind of eating it up. I'm only 50 pages in, but I'm really excited about it. And if I didn't have a migraine for literally 5 hours today, I'd probably be almost halfway done with this book. That was the plan, but I was rotting on the couch because I could barely open my eyes. Once the pain meds finally kicked in and the water and caffeine in conjunction that I was drinking finally helped, I just now finished filming 2 videos, my June wrap up and my mid-year freakout tag. And I have so many books on the floor that I need to clean up, but I had to start this video first and let you know that it's happening. I'm so excited. Let's go keep reading. Good morning. I worked all day yesterday, but I did have some time to read on my break, and from that, as well as just reading while I'm sitting here eating breakfast, I've made it to page 112 of The Age of Myth. It's 12:30 now, and I had to spend the whole morning editing Sunday's video. I did my mid-year book freakout tag, and I'm actually really proud of it. I'm really happy with how it turned out because I added a couple questions. I took questions from you guys on Instagram and added those in, as well as the stats, like the quarterly bookish stats that I do. I'm proud of it, and I'm happy with how it turned out. So that's a good feeling. And while I was walking Avi, making breakfast, I've been listening to 1-Star Romance actually by Laura Hankin, having a grand old time. I wasn't listening to Age of Myth while doing things because I really want to pay attention to it, and plus I'm like mildly annotating and tabbing. All the books that are involved in this vlog I will be like annotating because they're all first books in a series, and I'm not immediately continuing any of these series because I have to read these other books for the same vlog. So I just want to, you know, sit down and pay attention while I'm reading them. But we passed the 100-page mark, and like I said in the first clip, I mean, I'm having a grand old time. I really am loving Michael J. Sullivan's writing. He has this humor within his dialogue that is just so perfectly placed. Everything feels so normal and natural and conversational, and I think that this is just a really good book because already so far it is very exciting. It feels so cozy. Like the way that he's able to write his atmosphere and just describe the surroundings is kind of expert, dare I say. I can so easily picture what our main characters are doing and what they're looking at and what they're sensing and feeling, and it's just really great. Also, there's a little, is it an author's note in the beginning? Yeah, there's an author's note in the beginning of the book that he kind of talks about how he writes his book series, and this is a completed series. And that's how he writes his books. Like, he literally writes all of the books in the series and plans out all of the plot twists and all of the, like, how things connect throughout all the books in the series. And he just describes his process. And I thought that it was really interesting. I love, one, that we don't have to wait for the future books, you know? But two, I just thought that that was a really unique way to write a series. And it makes sense. It makes sense to write it that way. At the end of the author's note, he did say, like, and this is not me telling you that you should do that. You actually shouldn't write books the way that I do, but it is what works for him. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this. I am done editing. I really want to finish this book today. I really want to. I kind of need to because tomorrow I need to start the next book in this series if I want to finish this vlog before I go to Bali. So I think it's doable. It's just a matter of whether I have discipline or not. I'm doing reading sprints with my patrons at 3. So we have a couple of hours and I'm just literally going to sit on the couch and read for the foreseeable future. I'll probably make a latte at some point, but yeah, this is going really well. Outside minding our own business on the front porch, and then all of a sudden there was like an absolute downpour for like 15 minutes and then it was clear again. So after it cleared up, we took Avi on her evening walk. I started sprints with my Patreon and I have now gotten pretty far actually. I'm to page 264, but I do think that I could finish this book today. It's just a matter of if once Caleb is done with his cigar, whether he's distracting me or not. And it's always likely that he's gonna be distracting. Maybe we'll watch a movie later tonight and I'll finish this in the morning. Who knows? But I did just want to kind of come update you and tell you a couple more updates because this book is going really well. I think how it's constructed is really, really great. I love a prophecy. There's a main character called Suri and she is a mystic and she has a wolf companion and it's almost giving Corbin from Malice by John Gwynne and I'm so here for it. I love it. And I think that the further books will expand on all of these things that we're learning way more. It's definitely a series that I will continue. And I'm sure I'll say that again at some point because I'm really enjoying this world. Some of the world building and like politics within the different races of people is a little bit confusing because there's humans and then there's Frey, which are like immortal godlike creatures, but there are different classes within the Frey. And I don't completely understand those dynamics yet, but I'm sure that I'll piece it together a little bit better later. And then there's a whole mystery of the door. And I thought maybe the door was this tree, but this tree actually has a name and her name is Magda. I'm assuming that's the tree, but like the oldest tree in the forest, like there's Suri, the mystic is able to like talk to trees and stuff, like creatures and everything. And it's awesome. I really just love everything that's going on. So yeah, I'll come back and update you once I finally finish it, but it's going really well. Hi, hello. I finished The Way of King. This is not The Way of Kings. Wow, I'm just like already thinking ahead, you know? I finished The Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. What have I talked about already? Oh boy. If this part's going right now, it's because I haven't talked about it yet, but if I have talked about it, then this won't be here. One thing that Michael J. Sullivan, no, I totally talked about it, about how he writes all the books and then plans out all of the plot twists and reveals and arcs and everything throughout all of the books, and then he publishes them all at the same time so that he feels like he can have a cohesive series, like where it doesn't really dip in intensity ever. Like it doesn't ever feel like it's trying to find where it's supposed to be going. I think I already talked about that. If I didn't, that's how he writes his series and I really love that. I think that's really, really smart. I totally have already talked about that. Okay, first of all, with my Bali trip coming up, I have a lot of videos that I need to pre-edit and schedule before we leave so that I don't have to worry about it on vacation. I'm gonna try to do that. I don't want to have to bring my things to edit, so we're gonna do our best. So last night, I actually started editing the 24-hour horror edition of the series. I'll link it down below. It should be out by now, but that one's super fun. It just feels like a cozy sleepover. And so I started editing that last night. Woke up this morning. Well, we woke up at like 1 a.m. to Sammy killing a mouse somewhere in the house. It wasn't pleasant. So our sleeping night was a little bit interrupted, but we woke up, we played tennis for a few hours, went to the farmer's market, came back, made a delicious lunch. Wow. Watched some tennis, played Animal Crossing, and finished Age of Myth, okay? Now you're caught up. There is so much to love about this book. I think it gives such great classic fantasy vibes, but the humor in the writing is really one of my favorite things. I don't always love humor in the writing. Sometimes it feels like it's a little bit cheesy or a little bit, I don't know, heavy-handed, you know what I'm saying? It's sort of refreshing, you know, because I feel like a lot of fantasy books are a little bit heavier, a little bit more serious, and this one just has like this lightness about it. And I also want to say that Peruse Projects did an oddly specific book rec video, and I submitted like a request, and she actually chose mine. I was really excited. She recommended this book to me based on the prompt that I gave her. And the prompt that I gave, it's so funny having read it now, knowing that it fits this perfectly. Like, she did such a phenomenal job. She hit the nail on the head. My request was something along the lines of a fantasy that feels like a sunny, cloudy day, but there is a storm brewing in the distance. And that is so perfect for this, especially because of how the book ends. Like, it was a satisfying ending. Like, I don't feel like I absolutely have to pick up the next book or I won't be okay, but I am also just intrigued enough to do so if I wanted to. Because the last conversation that was had in this book gives enough foreshadowing and sort of, I don't know, intrigue to make you want to continue. And that intrigue and foreshadowing is that storm brewing upon the distance, because there's a storm coming.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
There's a lot that was alluded to in this first book, and I am very excited to continue. The rating that feels right for me is a 4.5. I think that it very well could be a 5-star book, and I think maybe in the future, once I read more books in the series, I might feel differently, like, oh, it might be a 5, but because I can sense that I will become so enthralled with the characters and really want to go up to bat for every single one of them. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the future I change that, but I do right now. It feels right to give it like a 4.5. It was great though. I definitely would recommend this, and I'm really excited to have finished this because now we can go into the next book in this vlog, and that book is The Ruin of Kings by Jenn Lyons. This recommendation comes from my Patreon, and I know it's from Sarah. I want to make sure that no one else also recommended it. Ooh, and Randy. Randy also recommended The Ruin of Kings. So this is exciting. Last time we talked, it was light out, and now it is 10:30 on a Saturday night. And I've just been reading The Ruin of Kings, and I've made it to chapter 14. That's page 106. It feels like I've been reading forever, and I don't have that much to say for it. The text and margins in this book are so small. It is deceiving. I thought it was gonna be like a quick read, to be honest. It's definitely not. But this is book 1 in a series. Obviously, all 3 of these books in this vlog are. There are immediately a lot of things that I love about it. It starts out like even before part 1, there's like a little letter. Sammy just got let in. That's like, it's a letter from some character that we don't know to the Majesty saying, enclosed within is a full accounting of the events that led up to the burning of the Capitol. Much of the first section is based on transcripts derived from a conversation, yada, 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 so on and so forth. It's a direct letter to the Queen, King, Majesty, not sure whomst it is, but I think it's a really fun way to start out the book because you can come in. You always do this. Just walk in the house. But it just sets up the stage for us to know that like things are going to get crazy at some point. And right now, at 100 pages in, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster because I really do like the writing and I do like the setup and the characters and the world so far, but it's very much like the beginning of a new fantasy series where there's a lot of new, I almost said technology, it's not technology, a lot of new vernacular that I don't know. It helps that there is a glossary at the back of this book. I love when authors include that, but I've been like annotating and basically taking notes in hopes of trying to retain things, and you know, I'm doing my best. And I think what is adding to some of the confusion is it's told in dual timeline and dual point of view. So it opens up with, I think it's our main character is in jail and there is a demon kind of like guarding him, making sure that he can't escape. And one of our point of views is him telling his like life story of what brought him to where where he is, I'm guessing, and also the point of view of the demon, and she's going way further back, saying like, that's not actually where the story starts. Let me tell my story of you. Let me tell your story for you. And it's really interesting. Like, again, it's a really great setup, and I like the audiobook a lot. It has multiple narrators. I just have to read more. It's going to be one of those where one timeline we get a little bit of information and then it jumps to the other timeline and we're left hanging on the first part of the story, and we just start like we just keep playing like catch up, you know, to where things will make sense later, but right now it doesn't really make sense. So sometimes these kinds of books are very frustrating for me, but I'm going to trust the process, and I think it'll pay off because there's already been a couple like really wild scenes, very graphic and very exciting. So, you know, it's going well. I just have to read more in order to understand it a little bit better. But I do work the next 2 days, unfortunately, Sunday and Monday. So I'm guessing that I will just read what I can in the next 2 days, and I'll come back and update you on Tuesday. Hopefully I am close to being halfway done with this by that time. So fingers crossed, we'll do our best and I'll see you then.
Good night, everybody. Sleep tight.
Don't let the night crawlers bite. Hi, remember me? It's literally been like 2 seconds for you guys, but it's been almost a week. It's been almost a week. No, that's dramatic. What day is it? Oh my God, no, it's actually almost been a week. Listen, I'm fighting for my life trying to remember what I have said to you in this video so far. Oh, that's so funny. You know why it's funny? The last time that we spoke, I still had the plan to finish The Ruin of Kings and The Way of Kings before we went on vacation. No. That, my friends, is impossible. So part of this vlog will be filmed during our vacation, which is actually kind of fun. I wanted this to be done before we left, but truly it was just too hard to force myself to sit down and read when there was actually so many things that I had to get done before we actually go. I'm pretty much all packed at this point. It is Sunday the 14th now. And I think, yeah, last time we spoke, I think it was last Saturday. Wow, that's actually kind of alarming because I thought I would be almost done with this book, if not done with it completely by now. I'm about halfway through Ruin of Kings, like almost. And very quickly, what's happening is I'm going to bring my Kindle for like random books that I want to read, but I'm going to bring, I think, The Way of Kings as my physical book. I should have plenty of room in my backpack to house one book. I know it's a huge book and it's kind of dramatic, but I would love to read it physically and be able to annotate and tab. So the plan right now is to bring that on my carry-on backpack, but I am not bringing Ruin of Kings. Like, I need to finish this before we leave on Tuesday morning. Technically, I looked at the audio for this. If I read it at the speed that I currently am reading at, I should finish this in about 6 hours. So if I read 3 hours today and 3 hours tomorrow, that'll be good. Now it's just a matter if I can focus for all of those hours to read this book before going on vacation. Like, you know, before you go on a really big, long trip like this, the panic starts to set in. Like, Caleb and I are a little bit unwell. Like, we're very, very excited, but you know, I don't like being away from my pets, and being away from home is just also like, we're such homebodies. Once we actually leave, it'll be great, but the actual just leaving part is hard. Like, can anyone relate to that? Is that like, are we abnormal people? Because it's like, yeah, we definitely want to travel, but actually going to travel is sometimes difficult. Not even just because of like finances and life, just because like emotionally, like we love being home. Please tell me that other people understand that. But let's get back on track to talking about Ruin of Kings. This is really cold. My fingers are frozen. Okay, so I am on page 245 out of like 540 something. So I'm like almost halfway. Wow, that's really not that much to show for it, huh? Because I know last time we spoke, I said that I hoped to have half of this book done by last Tuesday. Guys, that's awful. It's okay, we're gonna move on. This is just what has been happening. We've been busy, emotionally, physically, whatever. So this clip is basically just to make myself get back on track for vlogging this book for this vlog. I'm still really enjoying it. I don't know if I said this already, Bear with me. Some of the scenes, particularly the scene where they were on this big ship and there was a big battle, that scene specifically, I don't think you understand that reading that scene like almost brought tears to my eyes because it was exactly the type of writing and the type of like battle and situation that I have dreamt about writing. And obviously I've read other books where it's like, oh, that was written really well. Like hopefully one day, you know, I can write something as good as this. But it was just wild because so far Ruin of Kings is so close to the type of story that I have in my head in terms of like adventure and vibes and things like that. I don't know, like I'm having such a good time. I love the writing. I love the storytelling. I think it is a little bit confusing still. I still stand by that, but I'm not necessarily mad about it. How Jenn Lyons is doing it is sometimes she'll give us little tidbits of information, like little words, and we have no idea what they are. There is a glossary in the back of the book, so some things can be looked up and explained a little bit, but that glossary has no spoilers, so it won't get explained until later. So you kind of just have to like know that you're not getting the full picture until later, which is a little bit difficult sometimes for me. So I have some like tabs on the top of the book where I have put like, I don't understand what's happening here, so that maybe when I get to a point later, I can look back at those tabs and be like, oh, that's what that meant, that sort of thing. Because I really love understanding things. I really don't love feeling confused or just like I'm scrambling or treading water. Moral of the story, I'm still having a really good time. I obviously plan on getting through a good chunk today. Caleb and I are trying to switch our sleep schedule because Tokyo and Bali are on literally the other side of the world. So Tokyo is 13 hours ahead of us and Bali is 11 hours ahead of us. So we're trying to switch our sleep schedule kind of basically to night shift here. So we're gonna try to stay up really late tonight. We've been trying the last 2 nights, but we've only made it to 2 a.m. We're so old. But tonight we're gonna try to stay up until like 4 or 5. So I'm gonna get as far as I can into this book today so that I don't have to read too much tomorrow before we leave on Tuesday. Because I'm not bringing this book on vacation. I must finish. We're in Bali. This was not the original plan for this video at all. I was, how do you say, unwell, fighting for my life for a lot of the travel here. So we had 4 flights. We went from O'Hare in Chicago down to Dallas, Texas to Tokyo, where we stayed at a beautiful ryokan for 2 days. Then we traveled to Vietnam and now to Bali. Now, on the last day that we were in Tokyo, I ate something bad, something happened, I don't know, but I was like severely unwell at the airport. Our flight from Tokyo to Bali started at 2 a.m. Okay, we got to Haneda Airport at about probably like 7 p.m. because I started to feel really bad. I could not even think about eating dinner, which was a real shame because we had plans to like get some traditional ramen, but we actually ended up not being able to do that because I can't even express to you how horrible I felt. We almost didn't get on our plane basically because we almost like left the airport and went to a hospital or a clinic because I did not know what was wrong with me. I ended up rambling so much here and decided that I needed to do a sit down explanation later when it wasn't so fresh and I could actually speak clearly. So story time later, but for now. All of that being said, this video is still the 5-star prediction for fantasy. Wow, we're still doing this video. Oh my god, there's a big ass fucking spider. Stop. Oh, okay. Oh wow, sorry buddy, but you were scary. Oh, okay. Okay, hi. Anyways, I had planned to finish the Ruin of Kings before we even left for vacation, but that didn't happen because it just didn't happen. Then I got it on my Kindle so that I could finish it on the plane ride here. But on the first plane, Caleb and I decided to watch Dune 2, which took up a lot of the flight. Phenomenal, 10 out of 10, loved it. And then I did read a little bit on that first flight, but any other flight we were on, I like just didn't feel good. my disposition and my stomach and everything just was not really cooperating. So I was scared to actually physically read anything or do anything with my eyes because I didn't want to like throw up. So what I did on the plane was I started listening to A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I was just listening to that on audio. Really liking it, but that's not what this video is about. It's about Ruin of Kings right now. And I only have like maybe an hour left. And today is our first day in Bali. Again, more stories about like our travel experience. It was a lot, it was a time. But the people who are joining us on this trip, which if you didn't know, this is a group Trova trip that I helped coordinate. Like this is crazy. I cannot believe that YouTube has brought us being me and Caleb, to the other side of the world to experience something like this with you guys, with my subscribers, with my patrons. It's literally so surreal, and I've already cried about it multiple times. But people don't start getting here until later this afternoon, so we are just gonna sit by the pool. I have to still do my welcome notes for all of the travelers that are coming here with us. I planned on doing them on the plane, but again, I was unwell. So I'm going to write my welcome letters. I'm going to finish this book, hopefully, maybe, I don't know. If not, I don't care, because we're on vacation and we might just be swimming, but I will for sure do the welcome letters. But yeah, this video, I guess, is turning into a Bali vlog, which I'm not mad about. I also didn't take any of my cameras, so we're filming on my phone, but I think that this will be fine. We're gonna roll the dice, and I just can't believe we're here. Like, look at my view right now. Hello? There we go. Like, are you joking? Look at this little path all the way over. It's just, oh my God. Like, do you hear that? I can't even handle it. We have some things to discuss. By the time you're seeing this video, you all know that some things went down in Tokyo, in Bali, in the travels in regarding to like my health and safety. I'm gonna give you a quick little rundown because we're obviously back home. This vlog is still not over. Oh my God, did I not even tell you that I finished the Ruin of Kings? I was 100% about to say that I've started the Way of Kings, okay? I've started the Way of Kings, haha. I'm on page 80 of the Way of Kings. So I've officially cracked this chunker open, but I genuinely don't even remember. I don't think that I have even updated you since I was in the hotel room of Bali. So what we're gonna do, I'm going to wow, this is a mess. I'll update you really quick. I'm very much a person that struggles with the should I vlog or should I live in the moment sort of person. And I just purely was living in the moment. I was taking a lot of B-roll clips, like vertical and horizontal, while on the entire Japan and Bali trip. So my plan was to just do a little voiceover. So let's cue the voiceover of the trip. Some things that we did, a couple things that we saw, and then we'll come back for another story time. All right, chaotic voiceover time. The airport was absolutely stunning. We got to the hotel and we decided to have the most American thing ever and get some pizza and cocktails before our room was ready. So we just sat by the pool. And eventually, obviously, our room was fine. So the next morning, the adventures started after a day of lounging by the pool for us. I will say there's a lot of driving to the different locations that we went. The first stop was actually the water temple, which was one of my favorite experiences that we had the entire trip, to be honest. I thought it felt insanely special, and of course it was beautiful. There were dogs everywhere. I wanted to take them all home. I think I could have fit one into my carry-on, but it's fine. They were so sweet. The water temple was stunning, and there were so many koi, like literally everywhere. They were so beautiful. Okay, check out this video that our tour guide Sam did for us. The collective sounds we all made. We were so in love with him and not ready for his videography skills. But next we went to this amazing temple. Wow, so stunning. Caleb kept getting in the way of the B-roll, and it was funny, but wow. These were so much bigger in person than I could even describe to you. Like, this is one of the situations where, like, the video does it zero justice. It was really insane to see in person. I could have sat in front of them for hours. Oh my god, look at this cat. Just wait, hold on. Oh. It was so cute. He gave us the strength while we were walking up and down stairs. And then we went to a beautiful lunch and the waterfall. Here comes another video from our tour guide, who is amazing. We love Sam. We then went back to our hotel for the evening, and I still couldn't believe that this is where we were staying. Like, it was so stunning. The next morning we did the Bali swings, which was fun. Me and Caleb did a little one together. And then look at this dramatic video that they filmed for me. It's so silly. Wow. So awkward. More driving. We then went to a lunch where I saved this bee that fell into my drink, and, you know, just saving lives everywhere I go. Sam, our tour guide. We went to the sacred monkey forest in Ubud, and it was so cute. Many monkeys. I was just consistently blown away by how absolutely stunning everything was. Like, the architecture, literally everything is just so beautiful here. We then went to a coffee tasting class, which was beautiful. We all needed caffeine. And then a like farming and home cooking experience, which was so cool. We got fresh passion fruit and fresh coconut water too, which was super cool. Very tasty. This is when we were walking through this little part of the jungle to get to the actual rice farm that we were going to experience, basically. Some of us were able to ride the cows and while they were like softening the field, and then also plant some rice ourselves. Caleb also put on a concert for us, as evidenced by And then the next morning we did a sunrise biking tour, which I thought was super, super cool. The sunrise was obviously stunning. And how many times can I say stunning in this voiceover? So many times. Look at how stunning. There are actually a lot of bats flying around this morning as well, which was kind of cool. After the sun had risen, we rode on our bikes to the local market where people go every morning to sell their goods, buy goods for the day. And we had the tastiest little pastries that this man right over here cooked for us, baked for us. It was, oh my god, the best thing I think I've eaten in a long time, alongside this fresh dragon fruit. I'm going to think about this dragon fruit for the rest of my life. It was the tastiest thing on this planet, I swear. Then look at this sign. It still cracks me up. We went to Center Beach for the sunset in the same day, which was super beautiful, obviously. And then, oh my god, the best part, we all got on Gojeks, the little like motorcycles that people ride around Bali. We all got our own, and we went on this food tasting tour, which really ended up not being a food tasting tour. Some of us got a vegetarian meal, some of us got french fries, and it is what it is, I guess. At the very least, the experience of the Gojeks this evening was literally one of my favorites of the whole experience as well. We then had the next day, the last day, to hang out on the beach, and then we went to our final night dinner, which I need you to look at this place. Like, how I kept saying, like, what are we doing here? Literally, it was too beautiful for words. And the food was phenomenal. Definitely made up for the french fries. Like, look at this dessert. Are you joking? There was also a little like book nook in this residence hotel area. Nothing that we were really excited to find in the shelves, but you better believe that we looked. Then it was time to leave. This is Caleb and I having a little drink in the airport bookstore, of course. Did a little browsing, found some really pretty editions that I was not used to, like this edition of Serpent and the Wings of Night. I didn't know that the edges had a dagger on it. Stunning. And then we were home with our only souvenir from Japan, which is this little lucky cat that looked like Juno and Sammy. The trip was great. I loved every single person that joined the trip. We had such a great time together. I genuinely think that the dynamic was phenomenal. There really weren't any like weird times or awkward times like you could imagine going on a group trip with people that you don't really know, but genuinely vibes were immaculate. Everyone was great. It was literally the best that it could have been. You know what I'm saying? It was so fun. If you were watching this and you were on the trip, it was so fun to hang out with you and get to know you all on such like a deeper level, especially the nights that we were having bin togs in the rooftop pool of our second hotel. So much fun. What a time to be alive. But now let's commence a quick little story time because I'm waiting for my groceries to be delivered. So I have a couple minutes. Basically, you heard me say that I almost died in the Tokyo airport, and this is literally so true. So our flights went from Chicago to DFW to Tokyo, where we chose to have like a 2-day layover before we went to Bali for the actual Trova trip, group trip. And so Tokyo was insanely hot, like 95 degrees, no wind because you're in a city. It was really brutal. And apparently historically this is how it is at this time of the year in Tokyo. So I had a little like handheld fan that saved my life, I think. But regardless, we were probably really tired because of jet lag and also like just walking around in the heat. We were probably dehydrated. All of this comes into play for like what ends up happening to me. So second day, our plan is to, you know, spend the day walking around, doing more things, and then coming back to our ryokan, using their like guest shower, freshening up, and then having a like classic ramen dinner before we go to the airport because our flight is at 2 a.m. to go to Bali, basically. Well, around 2 p.m. on the second day, I started feeling weird, just really tired, like really just unwell in my GI system. And my first guess was like, maybe I just need food. We went to Koreatown, we had some Korean chicken. It was tasty, but it didn't solve my problem. I drank a lot of water, you know, I was trying to do all the things. We figured maybe it's the heat. So we go back to the ryokan a little bit early, shower, freshen up. By this time, it's probably like 5:30 or 6. And that's when we were going to go eat ramen and, you know, have our final dinner in Tokyo. And I looked at Caleb, I was like, I'm unwell. Like, I don't think that I can eat. And poor guy, because he was starving, but I could not even stomach the thought of eating absolutely anything. I started to just feel sick to my stomach and like mind foggy too, like really, really weird. So we decided to just pack up all of our things and go to the airport early. We get on the subway system, we get to the stop of the airport. Caleb leaves his bag on the subway and he runs back. He's yelling at the conductor. He's like, 1 second, hold on. And like Sasumi said, you know, like, excuse me. And he runs on, he successfully gets his bag, he comes back off. But that little bolt of adrenaline for the both of us, I think, was the beginning of the official downfall, because once we got his bag and we went up to the airport, there's like a big like foyer before you actually enter the airport. I couldn't make it past the foyer. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, I am unwell. I do not feel good. I went to like the side and I'm like laying down, almost like it could have been on the floor. It would have, like, I would have laid down on the floor, but there was like a little ledge that I just like laid on. And I got, guys, in hindsight and the following days after, like, it was food poisoning, because I've had food poisoning before. So those following days after this night in the Tokyo airport, those following days felt like food poisoning. Felt like I've experienced that before. I'm telling you guys, this night in the Tokyo airport, I've never felt anything like this before. Like, I get like worked up thinking about it. Like, I'm a little bit sweaty because I was so fucking scared. I was so scared for my life. And I'm not even being dramatic. Okay, let me continue. At this point, it's like 7 p.m. and I'm like going back and forth to the bathroom, just expelling my innards. I can only be upright for about those 15 seconds that I, you know, get to the bathroom and back to the point where I'm laying down. I tried to eat a little granola bar. I tried to drink some fluids and nothing was okay. Nothing was okay. After about an hour of laying in that spot, we decide to try to go into the actual airport. And and see if there's a seat that we can find and sit down on. But it was way more crowded than we thought it would be. And there's a lot of delays, so there's a lot of people sitting in all the seats, etc., etc. But after about 15 minutes, we actually got pretty lucky. Over the intercom, someone said, like, you can finally check in for whatever flight. And there was like a group of 3 people that were sitting in some chairs that were like, oh, finally, that's us. And we like rushed over and like stood in front of them while they were gathering their things that we had claimed to those seats because I had to lay down again or I was going to physically collapse. So we grabbed those seats. I laid down, put my head on Caleb's lap, and I think I took like a 20-minute nap. However, when I woke up, the first thing I heard was Caleb saying, Sydney, don't freak out. And I was like, excuse me. I was like, what do you mean? And like, I'm barely coherent because of the sickness, but also because I am just waking up from a small nap. And I slowly start to hear like, just like the chaos around me. Okay. Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's in panic. And I just remember like rolling over and looking up at him. And I'm like, what's going on? Except I'm not laughing because I am dying. And he said, something's messed up with all of the airlines. There was some IT thing. And this was the night of the, what is it? Crowd strike, airstrike, IT, whatever. All that one night that all of the airlines were affected with some IT update that went wrong. Is it CrowdStrike? Whatever. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just know that every single airline got messed up, like technology-wise. And guys, we were in the Tokyo airport at 10 p.m. while I was actively dying, and now something's wrong with all of the airlines. Like, what the hell? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Caleb stood in front of me, and I tried to, sit up, and I remember putting my hands on my knees and I looked up at him and my eyes would not focus. I just remember looking at Caleb in the face and saying, I think I'm dying. My body is shutting down. Because that's what it felt like. I have never felt that way before. Like the level of nausea was absolutely next level. I had Zofran, which is an anti-nausea med. I tried to take that. It did nothing for me. Bro, I'm actively sweating. I'm literally dabbing my armpits because I need to film in 10 minutes and I don't want sweat stains on this shirt. We were considering not even getting on our flight, leaving the airport and going to a hospital because like me being a nurse, like I'm stubborn in a sense of like my own health because I feel like going to be an actual patient on that side of the healthcare system is scary for me because I'm used to like helping and controlling, but also the fact that I'm in a foreign country, I don't speak their language, that is next level terrifying. The thought of actually going to a hospital in Japan actually like just scared me because the language barrier alone is scary, but also not knowing what's going on with my body. I genuinely had no idea. It was horrible. It was a horrible feeling. Ultimately, we waited. Caleb got me this like ion drink. I think it's their version of Gatorade. It's called Pocari Sweat. I think it saved my life because I was able to keep that down and I was actually able to stand up and go over with Caleb to check in for our flight because the IT update just made all of the like pre-check-in things like shut down. Like everyone, even if you pre-checked in, you had to go physically to the desk and check in for your flight with an actual human, and it was fine. We actually checked in. Our flight was on time. Everything ended up being okay, and I was well enough to get on the flight. That 7.5-hour flight to Vietnam, I slept. But I don't want to be like super dramatic, but I also need to just re-emphasize that that was the scariest moment of my entire life. That entire situation, I seriously thought that my body was shutting down, 100%. Hold on, my groceries are here. I need to put them away. I'll be right back. But anyways, that's the main story. It was genuinely the scariest day, night, whatever, 7 hours of my life. And it was just as equally scary for Caleb because what is he supposed to do? He has no way to like actually solve the problem, except he kind of did save the day with going to get me that Pocari Sweat. So this video should just be sponsored by Pocari Sweat. My life now should be sponsored by Pocari Sweat because I'm kind of like a cat at this point and this is my 5th life. So that's where we're at there. But yeah, I finished the Ruin of Kings on our first while at the pool of our first day in Bali. So I guess we can sort of move on into the rest of this video. I guess the story is not completely over because that 7.5-hour flight from Tokyo to Vietnam before we took our final flight to Bali, lots of layovers, okay? It was a rough travel experience. But that 7.5-hour flight, the plane was 2 rows of 3 and me and Caleb were in obviously 2 of the seats here. The 6 seats behind us, that whole entire family was so sick. Like I am an ICU nurse and I haven't heard someone, 6 people at that, sound more gross than they did in a very long time. They should not have been on that plane. They should have been wearing masks the entire flight. They were just hacking, like snotting, coughing. Oh my God, it was the worst. They sounded awful, absolutely disgusting. So the trajectory of the trip was almost dying from what seems to be food poisoning. Getting to Bali, finally feeling a little bit better, but those first 3 days of Bali, I could barely eat. But once I was finally able to eat and I felt better, I came down with a freaking cold. Like my skin was sensitive, my throat hurt. And this trip was like my trip, you know? So I was sick, but I couldn't necessarily be sick because I was trying to be the ringleader, you know? My adrenaline and my like excitement about where we were was like taking over, and I was just trying to ignore anything else. But for sure, whenever Kayla and I got to our hotel room at the end of the night, I was down for the count. I was just like exhausted, ready to just relax and put on some whatever dumb movie they had on cable and just sleep. And that's what happened. And it ended up, again, being absolutely phenomenal. But there were trials and tribulations, or as my bestie Steph phrased it, trials and turbulations. Haha. But yeah. Hi, welcome home. We're back in Indianapolis and here to continue this vlog because I think every single one of us on the Bali trip thought that we would have more time to read, but we just didn't. The itinerary was like pretty packed with just activities, temples, waterfalls, like all of the things. It was really, really awesome. But by the time that we got back to our hotel room, we were ready for room service and to rest and sleep. So like most of us read absolutely nothing. And then obviously I was fighting for my life on the flights and I had such high hopes. Like I was like, oh, there's gonna be so much time for me to read, even just on the flights, but I had to sleep. I had to just, you know, not exist for those times in the air. But I did finish Rune of Kings. Where's my phone? Because I took some notes of what my thoughts were like back then so that I can actually have something to tell you guys. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about, okay? So first and foremost, we're talking about Rune of Kings, okay? This is the second book in the vlog. Rune of Kings was recommended to me from my patrons over in the greenhouse. This is their contender, and it was a great book. I am giving it like a 4.5 out of 5, okay? First and foremost. I think it could be a 5-star read, but I would have to reread it. And once I continue this series, I will start back over and reread this book because the last like 25% of this book, I was reading from the plane ride to Tokyo, and then also I didn't finish it until we got to Bali. So that whole situation that I just told you happened in the middle of this last 25% of this book. So like I feel like I died and then became reincarnated in the same body, doing the same things, but like a little bit of this book kind of left my brain. Okay, so the last 25% of the book, I was kind of struggling remembering what exactly was going on, who all of the people were, because a lot of the names in this book do sound familiar. So that wasn't really great for my mental space at the time. So for the last like 20%, I was sort of just vibing on the plot and it was still absolutely phenomenal. I do think some of the plot twists like went over my head because I was forgetting who was who. But that being said, like I know upon a reread where I can just read it completely through and not almost die in the middle of it, I do think that this could be a 5-star book. The writing, absolutely phenomenal. I loved Jenn Lyon's storytelling. I loved how she explained situations, just the atmosphere that she was evoking. I felt like it was a very different fantasy book than many others. It's not like your typical fae fantasy. It is like dark and gritty and super dynamic and just really, really solid. I think that the magic and just overall tone of it kind of reminded me of Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I don't know how solid of a recommendation that is because again, like what even happened in this book, I couldn't tell you entirely, but I remember feeling that way. So this book was a 4.5 out of 5, okay? And I've been home for almost a week now. Jet lag really kicked me and Caleb in the butt hard. I thought that I would be fine because I've done night shift before as a nurse and I was like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be very similar to that. And I could not have been more wrong. Like, I don't know why I thought that it would be the same thing, but genuinely, those first 4 days after that 24-hour flight home, Caleb and I were absolutely useless.
It was not the same thing as Night Shift. It was could not be more different. So this whole clip, this whole like bit of this vlog right now has been what has been putting me off from vlogging. So I'm glad that I'm finally doing it so that I can finally just sit down and really focus on the Way of Kings, because it's been wild being back home, trying to get back into normal life routine after being gone for over 2 weeks. You know, it's been a lot of trials and tribulations, like for real. But I'm excited to finally be vlogging again, and back home in my, you know, comfort places. I am on page 80 of The Way of Kings. I love it. I love it. I love it already because the narrator just reminds me of Brandon Sanderson. I feel cozy automatically because I have loved the Mistborn trilogy, Tress of the Emerald Sea. Like, I just feel excited to be in a Brandon Sanderson world again, and I know that this is like the iconic one, so it's exciting. The story itself starts off with a bang. The prologue, is it a prologue? Yeah, the prologue, really interesting, immediately caught my attention. All of the different characters that we've followed up until this page 80, whatever chapter I'm on. What chapter is this? Chapter 4. I'm on chapter 4. All of the different characters are already like tying into one another in different ways. The setup and the immediate heartbreak that we're already having is just expertly done. I just know that it's gonna continue to be this just epic fantasy adventure that I'm buckled in, I'm strapped in for. But yeah, so we're home. Revisiting that like literally sent my adrenaline through the roof, and I'm actually sweating. So yeah, it was a time, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that it was actually, you know, just food poisoning and I ended up being okay. I hope I never experience anything like that ever again though. I hope no one ever does. It was awful. So scary. But I digress. I hope to not really have to talk about it a whole lot anymore because I feel like I've had to tell the story multiple times. Poor Caleb as well. But now it's 3 p.m. and I got all ready because I'm going to film this week's video, which is going to be a little book rec video. I have 2 different book rec videos coming out, and this one is just going to be the classic, if you liked this, read this book sort of vibe, and I have a good little stack up there. So I'm going to go film that and then hopefully read a good chunk of The Way of Kings tonight. I think I might actually either make a coffee or a little pre-workout just for the caffeine so that I can get through this and have some energy to sit down and read. So yeah, happy to be here and chatting with you guys today. Let's go caffeinate, film, and read. Good morning, little Merlin, our wizard.
Back to bed.
Hey friends, welcome back. It's been a hot minute, like a week and a half maybe, but a lot has happened. Since the last time that we spoke, I was forced to take a break from The Way of Kings because, well, the first book was more of a choice. So I decided that since it was like 10 days into August and I still hadn't finished a book, which was just a personal thing that I was like, I feel like I need to read something quick and just get that quick satisfaction of finishing a book in August. And so I did that. I read The Lost Story by Megan Schaefer and it was so freaking good. Like, I won't shut up about that for a really long time. I love that book. Read that in one day. It was a great time. And then I quickly realized that 3 days from that day was my book club meeting for The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. So then I had to quickly read that. But now we're back. We're back, baby. I am 267 pages in. I think the last time we chatted, I had reached like 150 maybe, if that. I don't really remember. But I've been reading this again since last night and I'm so back in the story. I really am loving this. I think that this will definitely be a book and a series that I will come back to from time and time again, and I could see myself rereading this in the future, just like I imagine myself with like Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne, like my favorite series. I can foresee myself wanting to be back in this world and picking up on things that I hadn't read or noticed the first time. Because there's a lot of characters, a lot of storylines, and they all are like intersecting so seamlessly, but like mildly right now because it's like the beginning of the book, obviously. So I'm really excited to continue and see how all of these storylines intersect even harder. One thing I love in my fantasy books is definitely like a war or like battle setting, and one of our main characters, many of them actually, are actively in the Shattered Plains, which literally is just like a battleground. And Brandon Sanderson just writes so uniquely. It's so fun to be back in a world of his because it just reminds me of reading the Mistborn trilogy and really, really loving it. His magic systems and just way of writing like the action scenes, I feel like are so Brandon Sanderson. And I love reading more books from authors that I love because you start to pick up on things like that. And it's just so fun. So right now, having a great time. Wanted to sort of like reintroduce myself to the vlog and say, hey, I promise I'm still here. We're gonna take it seriously now and finish this book in the next couple days. Right now we're doing sprints with my Patreon. We are finishing out a readathon that I've been doing all weekend. It's Sunday now, August 18th. It's almost 4 p.m. I've made myself a little latte. We have my book club meeting at 5:30 p.m. for the husbands, which is really fun. I also love that book. Steph from Stephanie Bookish will be joining me for this book club, and I'm really excited to catch up with her after book club. I hope to just read again a little bit later. So we're back in this vlog. I know it's been super chaotic, but sometimes it's like that. And that's what this is. But regardless, I'm really, really, really loving this. I started reading and then I realized that one of the things I wanted to tell you, I didn't tell you. While I was gone, I got another tattoo and I'm really excited about it. But it is this stunning panther chasing butterflies up here. It fits perfectly within the fern and my lady and crow, and then my little whale is back here. He's starting to get a little bit dry because, you know, that's how the tattoo healing process goes. But look at these butterflies. Look at his little face. Look at him chasing them. They're so cute. The artist is in Indianapolis. I said that weird. In Indianapolis. Her name is Becca Lerner. She's phenomenal. That's it. My book is still open. Like I was actively reading and I was like, wait, I wanted to tell them about my tattoo. So here it is. We love it a lot. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go keep reading. Bye. Hello, good morning. Steph joined me for book club last night and we chatted for like 3 hours after the book club was over. So I actually didn't get to read too much last night, but I did get to page 339 this morning. So, you know, into the 300s, slowly but surely making it. The plan for today is literally just to read as much as I possibly can and then later going out to dinner with some friends. Kayla's plan for today is very exciting because we're starting our like basement home gym journey, and at the same time we're going to be just like cleaning up, making it a little bit nicer down there, which he did a lot of that yesterday. But one thing that's really like not sure why anyone would choose this, but our stairs going down into the basement are Christmas colored, like literally alternating red and green, and then a random plateau that's like blue. I don't know, it's very strange. But Caleb is starting his day with painting these stairs, which is very exciting because we really, really hate them.
Hello.
Hello. But you can see, I mean, there's like random paints, like splatters. We don't really know what anything really is, but he's gonna paint it just this like trim color, the same color that we've been using on our trim throughout the house. So a couple swipes it'll just be so fresh and so much better. Wow, it's really exciting. Yeah. And then we have some treads that are gonna go on top so that Avi can walk down safely. Our sweet old girl. He's painting like himself into the basement because then he's gonna paint the walls down in the basement. So I'll show you a little before and after later. It's actually going to look really, really nice and we're really excited. We got some like rubber mats that are gonna go on the ground for the gym area, and I think we're gonna go thrift some just like cheap click-lock floors for the laundry room downstairs as well from like a restore. So this vlog literally is having a little bit of everything. It's having obviously like great fantasy reads, a little bit of travel, and also some home projects. So this is unexpected and this vlog is turning into so much. But that's where we're at today. I am going to finish my second cup of coffee, keep reading, and I'll update you later. I am so close to being halfway done with this book. I just hit chapter 30, which is page 471, which is basically halfway. I'm basically there. We're doing it. One thing that I really like about The Way of Kings is, of course, that it's a battle war story at its core, which involves the battles and the political intrigue that I really love in my high fantasy books. But this one is interesting because, and I don't know if this is gonna sound stupid, but a lot of the point of views that we're following are on the same side of the war. So everyone has a collective enemy. And of course, a lot of people have their own like motives that they're trying to accomplish that might include stepping on other people's feet, you know? Even though all of that is accurate and at play, a lot of the point of views are still on the same side of the war. So we're getting multiple viewpoints of like the high princes that are at the very top of the food chain, and then all the way down to like the bridge crews where one of our main characters, Kaitlyn, is stuck in right now. So we're getting viewpoints of the war from so many different types of people, and it just makes for a really interesting way to tell the story because we're getting literally so much information while also getting information from other people who are in a different part of the world but still fighting in the war in their own way, and we don't entirely understand like what their purpose is. And it is just so intriguing. It's so easy to actually sit and read for hours and not feel like you're reading for hours. Even though, of course, I am feeling that the book does feel very long because not only is it like 1,000+ pages, the words are very small on the page, but I am immersive reading. I have the audiobook while I'm also physically reading it, which is phenomenal. The audio and book narrators are great, and it just helps me focus. So I'm having a grand old time, but I really am loving all of the point of views that we're getting. And I've had a good reading day. I cleaned the kitchen a little bit. I just got ready for our dinner. We're meeting some friends. Let's see if my outfit can fit on screen. It's just like some, you know, linen baggy pants, striped, and I love, this is my favorite vest ever. I love a sweater vest, and it's just my favorite. The vest is from Madewell, the pants are from Abercrombie. I don't know what shoes I'm wearing yet. That's usually my last thought, which maybe it shouldn't be, but I'll probably just wear Birkenstocks because I am who I am. But before we go, I wanted to show you the basement because Caleb finished painting the stairs and the wall downstairs, so he wasn't super happy with it. He thought that it was gonna look a little bit, I don't know, more cohesive, but if you remember, this is what it looked like before, and it did not look good. It did not, I thought it looked absolutely horrible. But here is the after, which I think looks 10 times better. Like, yeah, obviously the walls are still pretty like textured, but literally what do you want from an unfinished basement, right? Like, I think it looks so much better than what it did. And the next thing that he's doing later tonight is switching out this like really awful fluorescent tube bulb. He got some like can lights that he's gonna put up into the rafters so they're like hidden. So we're gonna have some proper lighting in here as well. So it's going to be great. And then he also finished the stairs. It looks so much better. It looks so much better. I'm really happy with the progress. I think it's gonna be really great to just have the space down there to exercise because our floors up here are just like a little bit fragile because it is the original hardwood from this house and it was built in 1909, 1910. And I can't do like the HIIT workouts that I like to do, so being able to do that in the basement is going to be really nice. I hope to read a little bit more later before we go to bed. Tomorrow I'm gonna, again, read in the morning, but I have another tattoo appointment at 1 p.m., which I'm really excited about. Nothing like having 2 healing tattoos at once. It's gonna be quite itchy and a little bit uncomfortable, but of course I'm really excited about it. So I will probably see you again in the morning. Cue the B-roll.
Like a shift in the flow, a change coming, it's inevitable. In a paradise, we can work it out and see the hard times fading. In the sunrise, we can flee the night. Paradise,
guys, we've done it. We finally have done it. Look at all these beautiful tabs. We have conquered the Way of Kings. Round of applause, please and thank you. I honestly feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I feel like no one can say a single word to me ever again about not finishing a book ever because I've done it. This has been literally years in the making. It's been on my TBR for so long, but it's been actively on my TBR like literally all year. Hi, Abby. She's feeling very needy today for whatever reason, so she's might be click-clacking walking around. But hi, it's time to finish out this vlog. This vlog will finally end now that I've read The Way of Kings. And it was a wild ride. It was a really solid book. I loved it just as much as I thought I would. And that was the thing. I knew that I was going to love it all year so far. I mean, sure, there probably were a couple times where I could have actually picked it up, but a lot of the times it was just I couldn't commit to a book this chunky and this time consuming because I was trying to do other videos, to have different videos out for you guys, because you know, being in this line of work is like you have to read for content and also for pleasure. So I was reading for content a lot this year so far, and here we are. This book obviously ends with a lot of questions. I don't know entirely where it's going. There are a lot of loose ends because it's book one in a very long series, so there's a lot being hinted at. The political intrigue and magic systems are just, you know, just scratching the surface at this point. We got some huge betrayals, we got some deaths, we got some tragedy, some triumphs, you know, we've got it all. We've got a lot to look forward to. That's one of the things that I really loved about The Way of Kings, is just how the book is constructed. It seems very perfect for a first book in a series because I actively want to pick up the second one, and I probably will. Brandon Sanderson is just so cozy for me at this point, and it felt really fun to be back in his Cosmere and see some characters that I've seen from other series that I've read from him, which that was really fun because there is some crossover in very minor ways from different series depending on what you read from him. And I just think that he is a brilliant writer. I think his plotting is just next level because yes, this book took me a long time to read this month, but whenever I was sitting down to read it, I could read 200 pages and not even bat an eye because the pacing is immaculate. The little breadcrumbs that we get are just enough to make you want to keep reading. The battle scenes were amazing. I don't have anything bad to say about The Way of Kings. This is 5 stars. Absolutely. No questions. It has so much that I love. So let's talk about points. Let's talk about the standings. I actually didn't do that before I sat down, so let me quickly see where we're at. So I have this like 5-star bracket like checklist to do for all the videos that I have planned for this series, and it feels so good to check off this video. We did it. New totals, the new totals that we have, because my choice for this video was The Way of Kings. We're giving it 5 stars. For Patreon, they chose The Ruin of Kings for me, and I'm giving that 4.5 stars. And then YouTube, you guys chose The Age of Myth for me, and I am also giving that 4.5 stars. So this is a wildly successful video. I will be continuing all of these series at some point. All of them are so promising. They're all so different from one another, which is really interesting. This was a really fun video. It took much longer to film than I wanted it to, but I was talking to Kayla about it yesterday. It kind of makes sense that it has taken this long because all 3 of these books are, like I just said, first in a new fantasy series. Each book is a completely different world, different rules, different magic systems, different hierarchies. Like literally everything is new and fresh, and it's a fantasy world, so everything is anything that the author wanted it to be. So I had to learn a lot, and I took my time reading all 3 of these books with annotating and tabbing so that when I do come back to them to continue each of these series, I'll have a good foundation where I'll be like, oh, I do remember this or that or another, because annotating and tabbing helps me do that. So do I wish that I finished this video a little bit sooner? Yeah, of course. Am I upset about it? No, I can't be, because it was so successful. So without further ado, the new totals, I'm still in last place, which is, I'll just never live it down because of that very first video and how that went. But I have 13 points, Patreon has 17.5 points, and YouTube has 16.5 points. So you guys are all relatively close together. It's all very exciting. The time from this video to the next episode in this series will be much shorter than this previous. So be on the lookout for episode 5. But thank you so much for hanging out out with episode 4 of the 5-star showdown. In the little bracket that I'm doing over on my Patreon, I obviously am going to choose the Way of Kings when pitting these 3 against each other, though that is a hard decision. It is, because I do love all 3 of these, but one has to come out triumphant, and that is the Way of Kings. So thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with me for a little bit. Leave me the crossed swords emoji down below in the comments, and while you're down there, please do subscribe and like the video. I always appreciate your support. And of course, be kind to one another and happy reading. Bye.